Okay guys, since we weren't able to go over our safety stuff this morning, let's go ahead and go over it this afternoon.
Engine 5, response.
Escondido Fire for 1315. Respond to a report of a transformer fire at the SDGE Substation at Center City Parkway between Center City and Brotherton.
The mindset of a firefighter going into a substation facility is one of extreme caution. Low frequency, high risk incidents are those types of incidents that we don't have very often. In my 26 years here on the Escondido Fire Department, I've been to 2 of these emergencies. So you can see that they're very low frequency. However, with the inherent dangers that we have in an electrical substation, we look at that as being extremely high risk. So we have to take that into consideration whenever we roll to one of these types of emergencies. So though they're very low frequency, the risk is so high that when we do go into these facilities, we want to make sure that we do everything right. Because this is the type of emergency that if you do something wrong once, it can be deadly.
I come from a wildland fire background, and I began to notice a disconnect between fire personnel and substation and electrical workers involving emergencies. Folks had shared some situations, some history of emergencies that could have gone a lot better had there been training and confidence in each other. So after talking to a number of folks, we thought it'd be a great direction to go in.
We have a large substation, San Miguel Substation, at the east end of our district. We've always known it's there, never paid too much attention to it because it's never been a problem. We've never had a major incident there. But the fire coordinator for SDGE contacted us and wanted to put together a training plan and a response plan for the surrounding entities there that would respond. And so we worked together and did some tours, on-site training and classroom training about the dangers that we would come in contact with out there. And it's kind of grown from that to where we've incorporated other agencies trying to educate other groups that might respond out there to let them know about the dangers and make everybody safe when they respond.
The goals of the program are to, first off, provide the utility workers and the fire department with the same information regarding substation safety. Secondly, I think it's important to build confidence and trust in each other when we're required to do emergency work in substations. And then lastly, and probably the most important goal, is that both entities, the fire personnel and the substation personnel, know that we would never require them to do anything unsafe in any substation emergency.
When you go into a substation, you'll see a lot of different equipment and pieces. Maybe they aren't all familiar, maybe they are. What you'll come across typically are things like breakers and disconnects that we use to open and close switches, much like a wall switch in your home. You'll find transformers that raise and lower the voltage as needed in the community. And you'll also find things like old capacitor banks and reactors. One of the things you'll find in almost every substation, though, is a control house and a battery room. Both of those have both communications and control circuitry in it to make the substation work properly. When people roll up to a substation, one of the first things they typically see is a Prop 65 warning listing a lot of the hazardous materials that they will find in a substation. Things like lead, asbestos, PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, sulfur hexafluoride gas, any other number of things that you might find on a Prop 65 warning. We want everybody to know, including those firefighters that are coming on site, what they're going to encounter and what they're going to run into. Also, the on-site person will help designate and show those areas where those hazards might be so that they can be safe and be assured that it is either stable or it needs to be managed quickly to make sure it's not a danger to themselves or the community. In a substation, the worst thing that could happen would be an emergency would arise, whether it was an injured employee or an employee had a heart attack. So the first training that we typically would cover is make sure everybody is current in their CPR, AED, first aid training, so they have and can do the basics. Then we have to worry about expanding beyond that. Where did they get hurt at? Whether it's high up in the steel, it's a fall incident, it's a fall accident, they've fallen off of something, or perhaps it is a confined space issue where the victim needs to be extracted. So the substation training then encompasses all those components and teaches them to think through the steps required so that they safely extract somebody or safely lower a victim to the ground. Now, everybody has a role in the substation, whether you're an entry-level position or you're the senior journeyman with 55 years of experience. It doesn't matter. Everyone has to work together, and we find that by going through these training functions, we can start simulating those scenarios, and when we have to get the firemen in there, get the rescue folks, we can rely on their expertise and their knowledge to safely make that rescue and get the victim to safety.
There are a number of emergencies you might encounter in a substation. Fires can range from an incipient stage electrical fires all the way up to large transformer fires involving thousands of gallons of oil. You may also come across the rescue or medical aid where it requires your presence inside a substation. When a fire department arrives on the scene of a substation emergency, it's critical that they do not make entry into that substation without the presence of a qualified electrical worker.
I'll meet the fire personnel at the gate. It does take some time in some cases to isolate the portion where the fire is going to be fought. And I'm not going to let them in until it's safe to come in.
If there is no qualified electrical worker present, firefighters need to contact their dispatch center to verify the estimated time of arrival of that qualified individual and to notify their department that this is a substation emergency.
We had an incident where a non-qualified electrical worker opened up an energized substation with a set of bolt cutters to allow a fire department to gain entry to assist fighting a fire just outside the substation. And that's not a good practice. SDGE has an extensive program for issuing keys to only qualified electrical workers in our substations. So if you're going to need access to a substation, that person should have a key, and they would allow you to enter the station and direct you in a safe manner through the station.
A substation emergency doesn't always require a substation to be shut down completely to make the area safe, either for a rescue or the equipment. So what will happen is the troubleshooter on site may end up using cones or barricades or even delineators to make sure everyone is aware where those safe areas are, where they're not going to be in danger, and they know that they can rely on that troubleshooter's knowledge and expertise to get in and get out in one piece and safe. In the event a substation or parts of it need to be de-energized, it becomes more involved. Now the troubleshooter is on the phone to mission control. They're getting a plan set in place to take that equipment out of service. Now, it may seem like a simple function to simply open and close a switch, much like a wall switch in your house, but we have to worry that we do it in the proper sequence. Opening equipment incorrectly can lead to both serious injury and possibly even a fatality with an arc or a flashover if it's done wrong. So what will happen once he has his clearly defined steps written down, he'll review with mission control what's going on, and then he'll continue on with his task to take the equipment, whether it's that isolated area or the entire substation, out of service. Step by step, piece by piece. Does that mean it's going to happen in 5 minutes? No. Does it mean it's going to take an hour and a half? Not necessarily. It is going to take some time, and it does take that time, and everything needs to be accounted for. And that's just for everybody's safety, not just the gentlemen that might be coming in, whether the fire department or rescue, but also the people that are there. The trained experts who work with electricity each and every day want to make sure that they're safe.
On substation emergencies, the first responders from each agency, the fire department, as well as the utility company, need to get together and decide how this incident will be managed and what command structure will be used during the duration of the incident.
Communication is very important. Out in the wildland interface, out in brush fires, for example, we use LCES. Okay, and one of the key components of LCES is communications, because without communications you can't really use the ICS system, the incident command system, effectively. You need to have one person in charge, and that person needs to be able to communicate to those people that are working on the incident. And in order to communicate effectively, you want to make sure that you have your parameters set and that you have your key communication links in place so that the people that are doing the job know what's going on in real time.
Some of the keys to good incident management during a substation emergency involve gathering together and establishing roles and responsibilities before entering into the substation. Gentlemen, looks like this incident's going to be a little bit bigger than we had hoped for. Chief Arena and I spoke and thought it'd be a good idea to unify command and formalize our command structure and kind of establish roles for each of us. Establish if a walkthrough or safety briefing is necessary before making entry into the substation. If you could, Fred and Gary, you know what's going on in there, give us a little briefing.
Well, it started as a potential transformer. Now it's spread into the 69 kV bus, and it's gone to the breaker. So mission's waiting for me to give me a switching order to isolate the area, and then I'll come back when it's safe to enter.
Yeah, we've got an engine at the end of the driveway hooked to a hydrant, so we're going to stay there until you say it's safe to come in.
Identify who will be the commander.
Okay, Hal, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good incident here, so like you said, we'll establish unified command. Gary, I'll assume a fellow C to IC. I'll have you as a fire suppression group working with the safety officer and with Fred on the inside there. In the meantime, I'm going to call for some more resources so that we'll be ready when your folks are ready so that we can mitigate this incident safely and effectively.
Great. Identify who will be the safety officer. Augie here is our substation working foreman, knows that place inside and out. I'd kind of like to assign him as an operational lead, be your contact. Gary can help you out in there. And then Brian here knows substations pretty well. I'd kind of like to establish him as our incident safety officer, specifically for safety issues involved. Identify a gate guard and make sure that security is kept during the duration of the incident.
Very good, and then we're going to have someone as a gatekeeper and one way in and one way out, right?
We'll make sure, Brian.
I can take care of that.
Okay, very good. All right. A part of this program is to provide strong communication link between an expert from SDGE who is there to guide us safely into the facility, and then your expert in terms of fire extinguishment, which is the fire department. And working together and communicating directly with each other in what we call a unified command is very important for us to safely mitigate the incident inside one of these dangerous facilities.
Pre-emergency planning is helpful in all emergencies, but especially important in substation emergencies. It offers the opportunity for the fire department and the utility to sit down together pre-emergency and identify those hazards and situations that may come up. A pre-emergency response plan will include contact information, critical safety information, facility layout information, and important information about hazardous materials within the facility.
The training that we did took about a half a day, including lunch, and it was a little classroom, a little on-site training out at the substation, and it really helped to get contact with some of the people that we're going to be seeing in an emergency, got some of that connection there, and it also gave each person in our department some confidence that they kind of know a little bit more about what they're getting into, a little bit safer feeling when you're going into that, and so it's really helped with our response plan out to the substation.
We don't really have a lot of experience in dealing with these types of incidents. With the two that I've had in my career, I can just say that it was day and night since they're both low frequency. The first one, we really hadn't had any training other than being told by SDGE not to go into the facility. The second fire that we had was a lot different because we'd had some experience as well as a group of people put together as a team to deal with training firefighters. So the first experience wasn't really a good experience because there was a lot of inexperience on both sides. But after analyzing that incident and looking what we did wrong and looking again at what we did right, we were able to put together a lot of procedures that allowed us to handle the second incident safely and effectively without any confusion or any real danger to the people that were involved. It's very important that we work together as a team on these type of incidents. We are going to rely and trust that SDGE is going to do what it takes to make the plant safe. And we want to be certain of that. And the policies that we have in place allow us to be certain that the steps that need to be taken are being taken. And when we know that those steps have been taken to make this plant safe, SDGE can be assured that we will extinguish that fire in a safe manner.
In any substation emergency, it's important that fire department personnel work within their expertise and utility workers work within theirs. Pre-planning, working together, and training together will ensure that all participants in any emergency will be safe.